Hello everyone, welcome to Asian Gate Academy. So our next topic in this heat transfer is heat exchangers. So heat exchanger is a device which facilitates the transfer of heat between two fluids which are at different temperatures, right? And if you see, a common industrial heat exchanger looks like this. So if you try to understand the working of this or principle of this heat exchanger in layman's language, see, it has four openings. Through two openings, two different fluids will enter and those will get exit through the other two openings. So let's say from this opening, hot air enters or hot gases enters, and through this opening, hot water is entering, cold water is entering. So there will be heat transfer between this hot gas and this cold water, and when they will exit, this hot gas will be cooled and this cold water will get heated. Now to understand this, let's take the cut section of this heat exchanger. So this image is the cut section of this heat exchanger. So it includes or it constitutes horizontal tubes in which one of the fluid is flowing, and over that a shell in which the second fluid is flowing. So this kind of heat exchanger in general is known as shell and tube type of heat exchanger. So in this tube, let's say our hot gas was flowing, and over this there is a shell in which the cold water is flowing. So there will be heat transfer between this hot gas and this cold air. So the shell and tubes, you are familiar with these terms, but there is one more device which is known as the baffles. So function of these baffles is to support the tube because they have the circular openings and through this the tubes passes, right? So these are the baffles, and through these baffles the tubes are passing, so they are supporting the tubes. These are their first job, and the second job is they create turbulence in the path of this shell side fluid. So in shell side, if the water is flowing, then these baffles create turbulence in this flow, and this results in the increase in heat transfer coefficient, right? Thus they increase the effectiveness of the heat transfer, right? So these are the job of these baffles. Now let's see the applications of heat exchangers. See, in many devices these heat exchangers are used whenever there is a heat transfer. For example, air conditioners and refrigerators. So in your home appliances like air conditioner and refrigerators, you will easily find these heat exchangers. For example, if you take the exhaust of this air conditioner, the split AC, you will find the coils of this condenser. Similarly, if you see your back of your refrigerator, you will find these kind of coils, right? So these are the condensers of this refrigerator. This is the kind of a heat exchanger. Apart from that, you will find these heat exchangers in the car radiators, right? And you will find these heat exchangers in the power plants also. So in a Rankine cycle, a regenerative Rankine cycle, we use the open feed water heater. So this is a direct contact type of heat exchanger in which both fluids get mixed, right? And if you take the example of a gas turbine, then you will find this in regenerative type of gas turbine. So this is also an application area of heat exchangers. Now let's see the classification of heat exchanger. So first we can classify these heat exchangers based on the contact. So it can be a direct contact heat exchanger and it can be an indirect contact heat exchanger. In a direct contact heat exchanger, there will be mixing of cold fluid and hot fluid, and they will result in a final temperature, right? But in indirect contact heat exchanger, there will be no mixing of cold and hot fluid. Both will flow in different pipes or a pipe and a shell, as we have seen in the shell and tube type of heat exchanger. So an example of indirect type of heat exchanger is our car radiator, in which inside the tubes the coolant flows and outside the air goes and it cools the fluid, right? The second type of classification can be based on the direction of flow or based on the flow of this fluid. And in this, first will be a parallel flow heat exchanger, second can be a counter current flow heat exchanger, and third can be cross flow. So let's take the parallel flow. In parallel flow, the both fluids move in the same direction. Let's say this is a shell and tube type of heat exchanger. So you can see the hot fluid and cold fluid both are moving in same direction, right? Second case is the counterflow. In counterflow, both fluids move in the different direction. So in this figure, you can see hot fluid is moving in in different direction, and cold fluid is moving in different direction, right? So this is known as the counter current flow heat exchanger. And in cross flow, both fluids move in the perpendicular direction. So in this example, you can see in tubes, one of the fluid is flowing in this direction, and perpendicular to that, other fluid is flowing. So this kind of flow is known as cross flow heat exchanger. Okay, but in our analysis, we have to design these heat exchangers, and our prime concern is to find out the area of this heat exchanger. For that, we will study the design of heat exchanger, the LMTD and the effectiveness NTU method. So we have seen the basics of heat exchanger, the classification and applications of heat exchanger. Now we'll come to the design of heat exchangers. So in this design of heat exchangers, we are primarily interested in finding the area of heat exchanger, which means how much area is required for the particular amount of heat transfer, or to reach a certain temperature difference, how much area of this heat exchanger is required. And for this analysis, there are two methods. First method is LMTD method, logarithmic mean temperature difference. LMTD, the full form is logarithmic mean temperature difference. Okay, so first one is LMTD method, logarithmic mean temperature difference. And second method for this design of heat exchanger is effectiveness NTU. Okay, so the name of second method is effectiveness NTU. So one by one we will discuss each method. So first we will take the logarithmic mean temperature difference. Okay, so this method, logarithmic mean temperature difference, is used when the outlet temperature of both fluids are known. Okay, so this will use when outlet temperature of both fluids are known to us. Okay, so if you know the outlet temperature of both fluids, we will see how it is. Then we can use this LMTD method. And as I told you, finally we will calculate the area of heat exchanger. So by using this method, our end result will be this area of heat exchanger. But in GATE examination, sometimes he can give you the area of heat exchanger and he can ask about the final temperature or initial temperature or the heat transfer. Okay, so first let's discuss this LMTD method for the parallel flow heat exchanger. So we have already discussed in our introduction what is a parallel flow heat exchanger. When both the fluids are moving in same direction and they are transferring heat to each other, then we say it is a parallel flow heat exchanger. So let's see LMTD method for a parallel flow heat exchanger. So we are going to discuss LMTD for parallel flow heat exchanger. Heat exchanger in short form, sometimes we denote this HX. Okay, so every time I'm not going to write heat exchanger full form. HX is the short form for heat exchanger, let's say. Okay, so before starting this analysis, let's see the assumptions. So assumptions are, see, these assumptions are very important. So in this analysis, the first assumption is, as usual, it is a steady state heat transfer. Okay. Second assumption is changes in kinetic energy and changes in potential energy are neglected, because sometimes the heat exchanger can be like this. Okay, so elevation of first end can be Z1 from the ground, elevation of second end can be Z2 from the ground. Okay, so it may happen that it will include some changes in potential energy, changes in kinetic energy, but we are going to neglect it. Okay, So del kinetic energy, which means changes in kinetic energy, and changes in potential energy are neglected. Okay, so these are neglected. Right, so this is our second assumption. Third assumption is the heat exchange is occurring only between two fluids, right? So there is no heat loss. Let's say one hot fluid is rejecting heat, then all of the heat is going to the cold fluid. Okay, no heat is lost to the surroundings. So heat exchange is between just two fluids. So heat exchange is in between the two fluids only. Okay, so no heat is lost to the surrounding. This is our third assumption. The fourth one can be the specific heats for fluids are constant. Okay, so specific heats, let's say for cold fluid it is CH. Okay, C is specific heat, H is for suffix of hot fluid, and for cold fluid it is C small c. So specific heat for cold fluid are constant with temperature. Okay. So in IC engine you will study that these specific heats are a function of temperature, right? But in thermodynamics and this analysis of heat transfer, we do not consider the variation of specific heat with respect to temperature. So we are considering these values are constant with respect to temperature, right? And the fifth assumption, the last assumption, is the heat transfer coefficient small h is also constant. Okay, so during our analysis this heat transfer coefficient also is not changing. Okay, so these assumptions are important before the analysis, so try to remember these. So now let's start this analysis of LMTD for parallel flow heat exchanger. So in our introduction we have seen in parallel flow the both fluids are moving in same direction, right? So let's say this is a pipe, and inside this pipe our hot fluid is flowing. Okay, so some hot fluid is flowing inside this pipe, correct? And let's say that hot fluid enters at a temperature of TH1. See, this T is the temperature, H is the suffix for hot fluid, and 1 for entry. So let's say this location, here we are taking location as 1 and exit we are taking suffix as 2, right? So what will be the exit temperature of this hot fluid? It will be TH2, correct? So this hot fluid is flowing. So the direction of flow is what? This is the direction of flow, correct? From 1 to 2 it is flowing, and this is the direction of flow. Now let's say the cold fluid, there is one more pipe surrounding this this hot fluid pipe, let's say like this. Okay, and for this pipe, this is our inlet. So from here this cold fluid is entering, right? So this is for cold fluid. And from here it is getting exit, right? So what will be the inlet temperature of cold fluid? Similar analysis we will do. So it will be TC1, temperature of cold fluid at location 1 or inlet. Now it is also flowing in this direction, and from here this cold fluid is exiting. So the temperature is TC2, temperature of cold fluid at outlet. Okay. So it is a parallel flow heat exchanger. So both fluids are flowing in same direction. This is the direction of flow of hot fluid and this is the direction of flow of cold fluid. Both fluids are moving in same direction and they are rejecting heat to each other, right? So this hot fluid will reject heat to this cold fluid and this cold fluid will gain heat, correct? Now can you tell me what will be the heat transfer equation? See, let's say we are writing the heat rejected by hot fluid, sorry. So this hot fluid will reject heat to the cold fluid, and if you remember, our assumption was the heat transfer is occurring between two fluids only. So no heat is getting lost to the surrounding. So whatever heat the hot fluid will reject, same heat the cold fluid will gain. Okay, so balance this. Q rejected by hot fluid, H, will be Q gain by cold fluid, correct? Now let's say the mass flow rate of hot fluid is H. Okay, so what is m dot into H? It is the mass flow rate of hot fluid, correct? And CH is the specific heat for hot fluid. Write down the units also. So what will the unit of mass flow rate? It will be kg per second, right? Kg per second, because we want to calculate the rate of heat transfer. That's why we are taking mass flow rate instead of mass only, correct? CH is the specific heat. H is the suffix for hot fluid, so specific heat for hot fluid. Okay, and the unit will be kilojoule per kg Kelvin, correct, or joule per kg Kelvin, whatever be the situation, right? Similarly, this m dot C is the mass flow rate of hot cold fluid. So it will be mass flow rate of cold fluid. Unit will be kg per second only, and this Cc is the specific heat of cold fluid, right? Again the unit will be what? Kilojoule per kg Kelvin. Okay, now there is one more term. Let's say this C was a small c, okay, this Cc and Ch are the small c. Then there is a term that you have learned in thermodynamics, heat capacity. So this heat capacity is nothing but mass into specific heat, mass multiplied by specific heat, right? And this is generally denoted by capital C. Okay, so capital C will be mass into small c, correct? So don't confuse between these two terms. This heat capacity term will be used when we will discuss the effectiveness NTU method, correct? So these are our assumptions. Now come back to this equation, the heat transfer. Let's say we want to write down the Q rejected formula for this hot fluid. So what will be that formula? It will be mc into dt, right? The heat transfer formula. And because it is a rate of heat transfer, that's why we will take the mass flow rate. Then only we will get it in watt or joules per second. So Q rejected by hot fluid will be what? It will be mass flow rate m dot into the specific heat Ch multiplied by T2 minus T1, right? But for this fluid, hot fluid, the TH2 will be less than TH1. Why? Because this hot fluid is rejecting heat to this cold fluid. So obviously this hot fluid is going to get cooler, right? So we can say TH2 will be less than TH1, right? And similarly this TC2 will be greater than TC1 because this cold fluid when flowing through this heat exchanger, it is getting heated, correct? So TC2 will be greater than TC1, right? So to avoid the negativity of this sign of this equation, I am writing this as TH1 minus TH2, correct, because I have written the rejected heat, so I can write TH1 minus TH2 because TH1 will be greater than TH2. Now this is the heat rejected by hot fluid and it should be equal to Q gain by the cold fluid. So that equation will be what? So this m dot h is there, right? And here it will be m dot c into c small c multiplied by, now we can write Tc2 minus Tc1. Okay. So this is the most basic equation of heat exchanger, and in GATE examination many questions you can solve based on just this heat balance. Okay, so just for the applying of knowledge of heat transfer, for the knowledge of thermodynamics, just knowing this equation of heat transfer mc dt, you are going to get 2 marks in GATE examination, right? So this is very important, the heat balance. Okay. Now we will see the temperature profile. How is the temperature variation in this parallel flow heat exchanger? So now let's see the temperature profile in this parallel flow heat exchanger, right? So let's say in y-axis we are taking temperature. So this is our temperature axis, and in x-axis we are taking the distance. Okay, so from here we are taking this distance as x, right? So at this inlet at x equal to 0, the location we are taking as 1. So this is 1, right? And at exit, let's say the length of this heat exchanger is L, and here we have taken the suffix as 2, right? So let's say somewhere here it is the x equal to L and this location is taken as location 2, right? So this is temperature and this is x. Now we have to draw the temperature profile in case of this parallel flow heat exchanger. And if you remember, in unsteady state we discussed, whenever the fluid is getting cooled or it is getting heated, the temperature profile or the temperature variation is exponential, right? So same thing will be here, the temperature variation will be exponential, and let's draw it for hot fluid first, right? So out of these 4 temperatures, TH1, TH2, TC1, TC2, we can tell this TH1 will be the maximum because it is the temperature, inlet temperature of hot fluid. Before the hot fluid is getting cooled, the temperature of hot fluid is TH1. So this temperature is going to be maximum. So let's say somewhere here is TH1. Okay, this is TH1, and now the fluid is flowing in this direction, that means from 1 to 2. So this is 1 to 2, in this direction the flow will occur, and in this direction the temperature of hot fluid will be what? It will decrease with respect to x, correct? In this direction the hot fluid will flow and its temperature will decrease, and that decrease we have seen it is exponential. So let's draw that. So it will be something like this. Okay, right. So this is the variation of temperature, and in this direction the flow is occurring. And what will be the temperature at this location? Location 2, it will be TH2, correct? So this is for hot fluid. Now let's draw this temperature profile for cold fluid. So for cold fluid, this Tc1 value, at first location it is entering, at location 1 it is entering. So the inlet temperature of cold fluid will be very, very low, right? So before getting heated, the temperature is Tc1. So Tc1 is low and Tc2 will be slightly higher than Tc1, right? This thing we have seen, right? TH2 will be greater than, TH2 will be less than TH1 and Tc2 will be greater than Tc1. Fine. So let's say Tc1 is somewhere here. Okay, it is very low. So Tc1, temperature of cold fluid at inlet. Correct? So now also the variation will be exponential, and now the temperature is going to increase. So let's say this is our temperature profile for cold fluid. Okay, in this direction the flow is occurring. This is for cold fluid. This is Tc1 and this will be Tc2. Right? So this is our temperature profile, and how it is? It is exponential. Right? The temperature profile is exponential, and for hot fluid it is decreasing in forward direction, and for cold fluid it is increasing. Right? Let's take one more term, the temperature difference. So let's say this theta is the temperature difference. Okay, let's say theta, as we took in fins also. So theta is the temperature difference. Right? At any location x. So if you closely analyze this temperature profile, the theta is changing with respect to x. Theta is a function of x. Correct or not? See, if you see in the inlet location, so this is inlet. At inlet, if you see, what is the value of theta? It is Th1 minus Tc1, right? The temperature difference, and it is quite high. This much is the temperature difference here. But as we move ahead in the direction of x, this theta keeps on decreasing, right? And it reaches a minimum value of theta2 at the exit location, right? So here it is theta2, and at inlet it is theta1. Right? 1 is for inlet, 2 is for outlet. So can you write down these values of theta1 and theta2? It's easy, right? So theta1 will be what? It will be Th1 minus Tc1. Right? Theta2 will be what? It will be Th2 minus Tc2. Correct? And at any location x, let's say we are taking at any location x from here, right, somewhere here, then what will be the theta? Let's say at this location this temperature of hot fluid is Th and temperature of cold fluid is Tc. So at any location x, this theta will be Th minus Tc, correct, which is a variable. So this Ts and Tc are depending on x. If you move ahead, this theta value will be different. Now the problem arises, as this theta value is changing, the temperature difference is not constant. So if you want to calculate the heat transfer, how can you do that? For that only we take a mean temperature, which is known as logarithmic mean temperature, right? So now let's see that concepts of logarithmic mean temperature. So till now we have seen the arrangement in parallel flow heat exchanger. So this is the arrangement, both fluids are flowing in same direction, and we have drawn the temperature profile. So this is our temperature profile, and we have given one equation, Q rejected by hot fluid is equal to Q gained by cold fluid, right? So I'm just summarizing whatever we have discussed till now. So from that heat balance we got this equation, m dot h into ch into Th1 minus Th2 equal to m dot c into cc Tc2 minus Tc1, right? So this much concept we have. See, by using this equation you can find out the mass flow rate if it is not given, you can find out any temperature if it is not given. But if you want to find out the area of heat exchanger, then it is not possible from this concept of thermodynamics, right? So now we will discuss how will you find out this area, and for that only we are discussing this logarithmic mean temperature difference, and we have taken the case parallel flow heat exchanger, right? See students, this is the most important point of this whole chapter, the heat exchanger. So try to understand this point, And if you are clear with this point, it will be very easy to solve the questions of heat exchanger, right? So now we are going to discuss the overall heat transfer coefficient. As I told you in conduction, that this overall heat transfer coefficient U will be used when we discuss the heat exchangers. So now you will come to know what is the importance of this overall heat transfer coefficient. Okay, so see carefully, just relax. This is easy topic, but it is very important, right? Now, as we have seen, this is the arrangement of parallel flow heat exchanger, right? Both the fluids are moving in same direction. The hot fluid is moving inside a pipe. This is our inner pipe, right? Because this is a double pipe heat exchanger. Inside this pipe, this hot fluid is flowing, and there is one more pipe, and inside that pipe cold fluid is moving. Now if you take a distance x, okay, so at any distance x, if you are taking a section, let's say this is a section we are taking at any distance x. Okay, so what are the temperatures at any distance x? Let us say these are TH is the temperature of hot fluid at any distance x from this inlet, and TC is the temperature of cold fluid at any distance x, right? And after taking the section, let's say we are seeing the side view of this pipes, right? So how that side view will look? Obviously it is a pipe, so we will see the cross section, the cross sectional view, and the cross section will be circular, right? So I have drawn this cross sectional view at a distance x, right? See, this cross section is going to be uniform, it is not going to change. At any distance this cross section will be same, just the temperatures will be different. So this TH and TC we have considered at a distance x. Now come to this cross sectional view. See, this is the inner pipe, the black one, inside which some hot fluid is occurring. So this red one is showing the hot fluid, and temperature of hot fluid is how much? TH. Okay. Now see carefully. Over this pipe, so this is the thickness of this pipe. So generally we will neglect this thickness, but here to give you some concept, I have taken this thickness. Otherwise generally we don't take that thickness, right? So this is the thickness of inner pipe. Over this inner pipe there is a cold fluid, right? So this blue one is the cold fluid, and it is enclosed by the outer pipe. So this one is the inner pipe, this is the outer pipe, right? So this is the outer pipe that we are seeing the cross sectional view, it is a circular. Now dear students, if I want to calculate heat transfer in a cylindrical coordinate, then how do we do that? See, now we have reduced this case into a composite cylinder, which is having convection at two surfaces, and it has two pipes. Correct? Getting it or not? We have reduced this case into the conduction through cylinders, in which at two surfaces the convection is occurring, right? Now, if I want to draw the thermal circuit of this case, see carefully, this is very important topic, right? This will tell you the importance of overall heat transfer coefficient, and this will tell you how do we calculate the area of heat exchangers. See, if we draw the thermal circuit of this, then this will start from this TH. TH is what? It is the temperature of hot fluid, right? Then there will be convection in this hot fluid, right? So this will be R convection in the hot fluid. Correct? Then there will be conduction in this first pipe, right? So let's say this pipe is pipe 1 or pipe A, let's say, because 1 and 2 we have taken the location. So there will be conduction in this first layer of pipe, right? So we can write this R conduction in the first layer. Then again there will be convection due to this cold fluid. So this can be written as R convection in cold fluid, and then again there is conduction in the outer layer of pipe or the second pipe. So it will be R conduction in the pipe B, let's say. So this we have taken as A and this will be B. Okay. Now this temperature difference will be how much? So we know only two temperatures, the temperature of this inner surface and temperature of inner fluid and temperature of outer fluid. So TH and TC, right? So TC will be here. Now if you neglect the conduction in the outer surface, because we are taking, there is no heat loss to the surrounding, right? So from here this will be insulated, correct? The outer surface will be insulated. So we can say the heat transfer is occurring in this much only, right? Because this heat will get transferred from this inner fluid, the hot fluid, to the cold fluid. So in between there is the first layer of cylinder. So heat will get transferred to that cylinder, right? But it will not get transferred through this outer surface or outer cylinder. So we are taking from TH to TC, and this is the resistance. Now this is in series, so total thermal resistance will be what? Just the summation of these three resistances. Now if you want to write down the heat transfer, see this is our Q, and the same Q I am trying to write down from this heat transfer point of view, because first I have written from the thermodynamics point of view, and this is just the heat balance, right? Now I am trying to write the third equation of this heat transfer. So it will be what? If we are taking the overall temperature difference TH minus TC, then I have told you we have to take the summation of thermal resistance RTH, correct? And now if you remember, we introduced the term overall heat transfer coefficient, and this can be given by Q equal to U multiplied by area of heat transfer into TH minus TC, correct? Because in chapter heat exchanger we are not dealing with the resistances, right? So when we come to this chapter of heat exchanger, forget about this thermal resistance. Never you will see this thermal resistance, always we will deal with overall heat transfer coefficient, right? Because if you want to calculate this thermal resistance, then you have to consider the thickness of each pipe, and the analysis become very complicated, right? That's why this is the importance of this overall heat transfer coefficient. So whenever you are taking this U, it is considering the effects of all the resistances, right? This is the beauty of overall heat transfer coefficient, okay? And we know this equation of overall heat transfer coefficient, it will be UA will be equal to 1 by summation of RTH, correct? That means it is considering the effects of all the thermal resistances, right? So in heat exchanger topic, forget about these thermal resistances, forget about this thermal circuit, and don't bother what is the thickness of the cylinder, how is the fluid is getting transferred heat. Just you have to take this overall heat transfer coefficient, okay? So I will write down this equation in terms of overall heat transfer coefficient, whatever we have derived. So this is our first equation based on the concept of thermodynamics. We just balanced the heat, and second equation is Q equal to U into A into TH minus TC, correct? So this U is the overall heat transfer coefficient which will be given to you in question, right? This value of U will be given to you, and they will ask this area of heat transfer, which is the prime concern for us. Now see carefully, this TH minus TC value, is it constant? No. See this temperature profile. So as we move towards X, this TH minus TC is a variable. It is changing with respect to X. So now the problem is, if he has given you the overall heat transfer coefficient, you know the heat transfer from this equation, right? So by doing this, you have calculated the heat transfer. This quantity is known to you. This U he has given. Area you have to calculate. Now your concern is this TH minus TC. Which TH minus TC will you take? It is changing with respect to location. Here comes the logarithmic mean temperature difference, right? This is our TH minus TC, which is a variable. So whenever the quantities are varying, to simplify the analysis, we take a mean, right? Similarly, in Rankine cycle, you have seen the mean temperature of heat addition. Similar concept is there. We are taking the logarithmic mean temperature difference. Logarithmic is term because the equation comes in terms of log. That's why we are saying logarithmic. Otherwise, it is just a mean temperature difference, right? So now if I want to substitute this TH minus TC with a constant value or a mean value, then the equation will become Q equal to UA into LMTD, correct? So we have replaced this TH minus TC, which was a variable, with a mean temperature difference, which is LMTD, logarithmic mean temperature difference, right? Now what will your steps of solving these problems of heat exchanger? First of all, you will try to calculate the heat transfer from this equation by using the concepts of thermodynamics. Once you know the heat transfer, put your heat transfer in this equation. This U will be given to you. Logarithmic mean temperature difference you have to calculate. I will give you the formula, and then you will be able to find this area of heat exchanger, right? And this area of heat exchanger will be corresponding to this value of U only, right? Because we have seen in case of cylinders and spheres, for different areas, the U values are different. The overall heat transfer coefficient values are different. So don't bother about that. If he is giving you one value of U, then he is asking the area corresponding to that value of overall heat transfer coefficient only. Okay, so don't think about that. If the heat exchanger will have more than one values of U, if he is giving more than one values of U, then you can calculate more than one areas, right, based on the different overall heat transfer coefficient. But in gate examination, he will give you only one value of U, and corresponding to that, we have to calculate the area of heat exchanger. Right, so now we have the two equations. First one is based on thermodynamics, the heat balance. Second one is Q equal to U into A into LMTD. Now the only unknown here is we have not discussed what is the formula of this LMTD. Right, so let's write down the formula of LMTD. See, there is a derivation for this LMTD. You have to take an element at this distance x, then you have to write the formula of dq. So these things are not important for us. I am just giving you the equation of LMTD. So from gate examination point of view, and even for engineering services examination point of view also, this analysis is only important. That derivation is not important. Only in semester exams they are asking this LMTD derivation, right? But all the concepts that are required for the derivation I have given to you, correct? Now this LMTD is equal to, see, we have discussed what is the temperature difference here. It is theta 1, 1 is the suffix for inlet, and what is the temperature difference here? It is theta 2, and we know the values of theta 1, theta 2. Let's write it down. So what will be theta 1? It will be TH1 minus TC1. So it will be TH1 minus TC1, and what will be theta 2? It will be TH2, TH2 minus TC2. Correct? These are the values of theta 1 and theta 2, and the LMTD is in terms of theta 1 and theta 2 only. So the formula you take, LMTD formula is theta 1 minus theta 2 divided by natural log of, that means ln, theta 1 by theta 2. Correct? This is the LMTD formula. So you have to remember this. And believe me, whatever equations you are seeing in the board, so let's remove this TH minus TC1. These three equations, using these three equations only, you will be able to solve each and every questions of heat exchanger that are based on LMTD method, right? So your procedure will be, first of all, calculate the heat transfer from here, calculate the LMTD from here, put the LMTD, and you will get the area of heat exchanger, right? So heat exchangers are very easy. Just get the concepts. If you are clear with the concepts, it is very easy topic, right? And this LMTD formula is valid for parallel flow and counter flow also, right? So now we have derived for parallel flow, but this same formula will be used in counter flow also. But in counter flow, just this arrangement will change. Okay, so this is all about the parallel flow. Now we will see the counter flow.